Namaste, welcome. This is Lighthouse Yoga, Tarot, Astrology, Outcast Astrology. My name is Thomas, and it is Tuesday morning here in Evanston, Illinois, um, just after 11 o'clock. You can see the sun is reaching its zenith over the next couple hours. We've already got Venus in the sky. Mars is up there too. Let's see if I can pull this up a little bit. And we will turn off the atmosphere so we can see a little bit better. Mercury, of course, close to the sun. Mars back here, really just now entering Scorpio. And we'll pull up the signs just so we have a sense of what is happening. You can't really count on the artwork, of course, to show the boundaries, and we can look at that, but it's easy if you simply click on the planet. It'll give you the exact location, what sign it's actually in. One way we can measure the motion of the planets is against the stars themselves. So, right, one of the main stars, of course, in the daytime right now is Antares. This is the fixed sign of Scorpio, and we've got this as a general theme, right? Everything is kind of passing through this time, right, as we move more and more into the winter time, right? This is kind of the entrance to the passage into what's often referred to as the underworld, right? Scorpio is Pluto. Pluto is Hades, and as we move on those themes, we're moving into winter. We're moving into the time where everything goes into hibernation, into death, regeneration, and ultimately rebirth, right? But this is just the beginning, and Mars is going to be moving into that sign, which is actually its home sign. In alchemy and fundamental astrology, Mars was the original ruler, is the ruler of that fixed water of Scorpio. It's been given now also to Pluto. We think of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus as kind of being beyond, in some ways, beyond the zodiac. When we correlate the planets with the chakras, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today. When we correlate the planets with the chakras, all of the primary 7 original planets, including the sun and the moon, are in the body. And when we get into Uranus, when we get into Neptune, when we get into Pluto, these are kind of transcendental. These are more etheric. They are of the mind in some way. We call them aspects of mind. So you have Uranus is the conscious mind. That movement of Neptune we think of as the imagination, and Pluto is the subconscious, right? And then again, we're back to this theme of Hades, of the underworld, of that moving into what we call death, which is just part of the process, right? The perceived ending of death is there because it appears that way to us, because those people are no longer around in the form that we are familiar with, right? But the spirit moves on, the circles keep turning, and somehow, some way, those energies return in a different form, in a new way, and in the concept of reincarnation, they progress, they move forward, or we would say sometimes maybe they move backward, but that again is only apparent from a limited perspective, from cosmic perspective. Everything is ultimately growth. Everything is ultimately learning. Everything is ultimately for the good. Um, so let's go through the planets. Let's go through the chakras, and we'll spin around the wheel a little bit. I'll try to keep this smooth. My mouse pad is a little bit dated, but it does work. Just sometimes gets a little choppy. So let me take off the ground here, and I'll leave the cardinal points so you can see again the basic horizon. All right, so Mars over here is the root chakra, and you can see over again here we've got this constellation set up in Libra, and again where it says IAU constellation, that's the International Astronomical Unit, and this is a very strict measurement. When we break up the zodiac into 30 degrees, as I would if I was reading a chart, I break it down into equal houses based on the ascendant, based on that rising sign, and I give each constellation 30 degrees, just like each house gets 30 degrees. That gives the most accurate reading of the chart. But when we're looking at stellarium and we're looking at the night sky, we're very much in an astronomical mode in terms of these locations. Right? They're giving such precise data, and if that's you, if that's part of your pursuit, then by all means, use this to its fullest extent. You might need to find somebody else that can teach you that math. I'm here more for the psychological, for the emotional, for the spiritual presentation of it all. But I don't believe that anything is separate. So, um, you know, pursue that to your heart's content. All right. So again, Mars is the root chakra, and Mars is the emotions. Mars is the red planet. Right? Mars is the drive. Mars is the initiator. Mars is the aggressor. Um, Mars is the defender. Mars is the warrior. Right? The Emperor card in the tarot is the card for Aries. Mars itself is the tower. And one of my favorite interpretations of the tower card is ambition. Right? And you see that in that card very clearly, that there's a climbing up to build the tower on the rocky shore. Very daring, very difficult pursuit. And if you fly too high, if you build too high, there is that danger, right? And it's a cautionary tale in some ways. So Mars as an aggressive figure is also there to remind us. Red to me means go. Red to me means start, initiate, right? Um, even though we see red in nature as being poisonous, as being a warning, right? We see red in terms of sexuality as being initiatory, as being ripe, as being ready. So there's kind of a dual aspect as there is with every planet, as there is with every chakra. So this is Mars. This is that root chakra. This is the energy that can make a baby, right? This is the energy that can initiate new life. So all of that is tied in with Mars. When we move on to the second chakra, we have to actually jump over to Jupiter. And Jupiter here currently is in Aquarius. And Jupiter is desire. Jupiter is our greatest wishes. It is our in some ways a driving force, right? What we go after, what we want, what we covet, what we what we pursue, what we feel passionate about. This is all having to do with Jupiter, and right now Jupiter is in Aquarius, and we can really desire a sort of fulfillment of the higher mind. Aquarius often is regarded as representing the future, and that future of a deeper connection and a deeper harmony with natural law, with the planet, with the cosmos, understanding these kind of concepts that we're talking about, that everything is sort of interwoven and interconnected, and and then that's something that we can tune into, and that we can actually set our desires in that direction, rather than just material comforts, material goods, other people, right, included in that. So our goals are high, right? Our desires are pure. You know, we can wish for this kind of more harmonious, more in tune kind of existence, right? I was going to say society, but you know, words are tricky sometimes. I'll just leave it at that. But Jupiter is the second chakra. These are all of our desires, right? So we can put our desires on basic things, or we can put our desires on lofty things. And right now, in many ways, Jupiter is, asking us or encouraging us to put our desires towards the bigger things, greater things in life. All right, now in the third chakra, we have situated two planets, which of course they're not really planets, which are the sun, which is a star. Right now, the sun right now it's in Ophiuchus, but we would still call it Scorpio. The sun really goes into Sagittarius on the 21st as it crosses that Milky Way gap, right? And that'll initiate that transitional period, Christmas time, right? The birth, right? And this is in some ways represents a kind of death and rebirth, right? So it's very fitting that the Milky Way is, near and through this cusp signs of Scorpio and Sagittarius. And as the sun passes through, this is the death and rebirth of the sun. And the sun is the will. It is our energy. Right? It is where we focus. It is the light, right? It is where we shine a light. As we know, the light enters our eyes, and it's processed in the visual cortex at the back of the brain, and that light, it moves in, but there's also a light that shines out. And this is the light. When we look into someone else's eyes, we see a light, and we see it shines back at us. And there's an energy that is transmitted, is transferred. And when we look at something, and this is the observer affecting the observed, right? This is that double slit experiment that has blown physics completely wide open, right? And we have all kinds of new concepts coming out of this, that the observer influences the observed, that what you look at changes. When you look at the night sky, when you look at the heavens, what you see is there, but you're interacting. You have a rapport with the night sky, and wherever your sun is in your birth chart, this is where you're shining a light, right? This is where your light shines out right? So your greatest interest, right? Where you feel that that pull, all of this again, you know, the step up from our desires, right? The moon as the dual aspect of the sun, right, is our kind of emotional and social requirements. Right? So let's go find the moon, and just for the sake of proper travel, we'll move uh, we'll move through the zodiac as we go counterclockwise. Aquarius, Pisces, and we'll find the moon here coming up on Uranus, uh, and it's giving us the moon in Cetus. So it's moved out of Pisces, and we're going to call that Aries for the sake of our, our Western chart, our 12 sign zodiac. But again, we're dealing in this program with the astronomical, right? And the moon is the the daily needs, right? As the moon moves through the zodiac, it changes every 2.5 days, give or take. And this constant motion is like what we need on a daily basis changes. What we require on a daily basis changes. We don't eat the same thing every single day, and if we do, we're a very particular type. But most of the time, and even if you get in the habit of eating a particular food, you might eat that food for maybe a month or two, but then eventually you're like, oh yeah, you remember I used to eat mangoes all the time, and I haven't eaten a mango in 6 months. But you ate them for a while. Your moods change, and again, these kind of things go in cycles, just like the moon. And wherever your moon is representing how you need, right, or what you need. um, for me, my moon is in Leo, and this means that I need a particular uh, audience on a daily basis, which makes me laugh. I feel grateful that I'm a teacher because I get to be in front of a class, be in front of a room of people that are giving me feedback on what I do. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's, critical and constructive and tremendously helpful. And uh, I just want to add that as an aside. That could be nowhere more true than this venue here. I'm really presenting what I've learned and what I've learned so far. By no means am what I'm presenting as the end all be all. This subject matter is of interest to me because I don't think I could learn all of it in this lifetime. I'm hoping that um, the internet will be around in my next life, and all the people that are making these wonderful videos will still be around, so I can check them out sooner. Because I've always had interest in this type of thing, but I've come to it somewhat later in my life. So I'm grateful that I've come to it, and I'm always so curious about what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is thinking. And um, one of the people that I learned from, she often says that everything is good for knowledge. You can learn from everything. You can learn what not to do. You can learn the wrong things. I've already come across things that uh, I've come across inconsistencies, and where I see things not making sense. You have to draw your own conclusions sometimes. You have to decide what you're going to keep and what you're going to throw out where you find those inconsistencies, and that's part of this process. So some of the things I'm going to tell you, they're going to overlap. Some of those things I'm going to share with you, they're not going to vibe, they're not going to jive, but hopefully in that friction, there's a little bit of, there's a spark, and we that's how we learn, that's how we grow. So all right, so that's the moon, and that's the solar plexus. So when we think about the sun and the moon, we put those at the third chakra. This has to, again, this is personal, right? This is your core energy, right? In our yoga practice, we talk about the solar plexus as being part of that deep fire, right? And you've got the sun and the moon right there. The moon, of course, we think of as the balance of the sun and the moon, right? That hatha yoga, hatha, those are symbols for the sun and the moon, and and the balance of those forces, the masculine and the feminine within each of us. So those are our needs. That's part of our movement in the daily world. Now, the heart chakra, you can probably guess we have to go backwards. The heart chakra is Venus, and Venus right now is in Sagittarius, stationing retrograde, conjunct Pluto. That's just the current configuration. I initially, when I was looking at this, the thought came up to me: no mud, no lotus. Right? The subconscious mind of Pluto is the mud, and Venus is the flower. Right? Venus is the lotus blossoming out of that subconscious muck or fertilizer. Right? So this is growth, and this is excuse me, necessity for growth. Right? How we grow. We need that fertilizer. We need that. Sagittarius is philosophy. Sagittarius is the sage. It's the shaman. And it's the teacher. And we could say it houses philosophy, it houses ideology. So the new flower that we're trying to bring to birth has so much to do with a new idea, right? a new way of seeing something. And I say this so slowly and so particularly because of the times that we're currently living through, and there's so many different ways of thinking, and so many people are holding really tightly to those ways of thinking, and there's always a danger in doing that because rigidity of mind, right, sets us up for great expectations and great disappointment. And it's important, to have hopes, and like I said, to have desires, and to put those desires into the future, especially currently with a Jupiter in Aquarius. But that has to be again, it's an inclusive, it's a loving, it's a righteous, it is a just kind of perception, right? The judgment is not good or bad. It's simply what goes up must come down. It's a kind of karmic law, and where again there's freedom to make certain mistakes. So much of our rigid thinking is not allowing people to make mistakes. So it's important. Like right now, I might be making a mistake, but it's important to have that space to make it, right? I might not, my interpretations aren't always spot on, or might agree with your interpretations, but that's the beauty of it, right? We can share. Like I said, we can learn from each other better if we're able to paint ourselves into a corner, and then we say, oh, won't do that again, right? Won't do that again. So Venus is the heart, and Venus is beauty. Venus is luxury. Venus often gets associated with money, but I think it's beautiful possessions. It's riches in not really the monetary sense. Venus associated with Taurus is I have, right? It's our possessions. Again, it's our riches, it's our home in some ways, the quality of our goods, that sort of thing. Um, how we take care of things that we have. That to me is Venus. Recognizing value in things, that's Venus. Um, Money itself, I think about as Mercury, and we'll get to Mercury next. But Venus is, again, it's beautiful things, beautiful environments, noticing the beauty, right? Appreciating the beauty anywhere we can. That's Venus, and it's everywhere. If we look through the heart, right? If we have eyes from the heart, everything, we see beauty everywhere. So it's important to breathe, right? It's important to breathe. All right, Mercury, the fifth chakra. I don't want to rush this video because it's important to do it this way. Mercury is the throat chakra. Mercury is communication. And this is again why I put Mercury and money together, because we communicate through money, right? We exchange, right? Mercury is equal exchange, is equivalent exchange. We are mercantile, right? That's that mercantile exchange. In Chicago, there's the merchandise mart, right? Those are Mercury words. So this is the traffic of Mercury, but it's all forms of communication, right? It's the throat chakra, it's our voice, right? And that's one of our greatest powers is our communication, is how we use our voice. Do we use our voice? In what way do we use our voice? I've always been a kind of still waters person. You know, they say still waters run deep, and somebody who's quiet often has those kind of deep waters. And you know, when they do speak, they're gonna say something, and when they do speak and they say what they're gonna say, you know, it's coming from that deeper place, right? It's coming from that still place, that slow or moving place, right? Which is an opportunity to observe. But Mercury itself is quick, right? And speech is quick, right? If you want to get something out there, the fastest way is to say it, right? Write it, paint a picture, right? Those all take a lot more time than just saying those words. So it's a lot easier to listen. It's a lot easier to watch than it is to read, right? So these are all under that aegis of Mercury, and wherever that Mercury is, right, that's part of the content of your speech, right? It's part of what you speak, what you exchange, where you know, in some ways, what you're selling. I, I've always had to come to grips with this, because when I first started teaching yoga, I didn't like the concept of, you know, the whole business side of yoga, but I was doing it to survive, and I still do it to survive. It is what puts food on my table and a roof over my head, and so it's, you know, it is a business in that sense, right? It is what I'm selling, and you know, that Mercury is part of that, right? It's what you're exchanging with the world, for your daily bread, right? For your meals, for your livelihood. So again, so much is wrapped up in Mercury. Um, and again, it all has to do with speech. And again, you know, you can broaden the concept of speech to all forms of communication. I mentioned writing, mentioned art, right? Drawing, painting, making a movie, making a video, making a film, whatever it might be. So it's all about that exchange. And I'll do another video with the you know, linking all the tarot cards. I know I gave you the tarot cards for Mercury or for Mars, but I didn't for the other planets. I'll do that in another video. We'll go through all the planets and the tarot cards. That'll be a fun one for me to do too. All right. So from the fifth chakra, Mercury, to the third eye, right? And this is Saturn. Right? And I always feel like I want to defend Saturn because Saturn tends to get a bad rap. But Saturn is that third eye intuition, right? Saturn is the great teacher of all the teachers. Where Saturn is in your chart, that's your lesson. That's what you're in some ways. That's what you're here to learn, and depending on where that Saturn is in your chart, that lesson is, sometimes something that you're very happy to learn, and sometimes that you're reluctant to learn. But Saturn is sometimes also called like the taskmaster. Saturn will tell you when it's time to get to work, and sometimes our work, we wish our work was elsewhere. Right? We'd rather do something else than our work. So we have to listen to Saturn, and a lot of times we don't want to listen to Saturn because we write Saturn off. We think that intuitive mind doesn't know what it's talking about, doesn't know where the flow is, and Saturn is always there at the head of the class, and it knows, it's like the chess master. It's got 12 moves, 20 moves. It's got the whole game mapped out. Before it's got it all done. So we learn to listen, and this is what meditation is all about. Right? It's tapping into that third eye energy. A lot of people associate that third eye with the pineal gland, that nugget in between the two hemispheres of the brain, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the pineal. Right? These are the hormone secretors that in some ways help us shine that light. I was talking about that light that comes in the eyes and the light that goes out of the eyes. And part of this this center in the brain, in the skull, is the power of that light that shines out of our eyes. And in so many ways, this is what we're here to learn, right? Is how to shine that light, right? And if we can align that Saturn with that sun, right? That's when things really take off, right? It's where the lesson that we're meant to learn from Saturn, with where we really want to shine our light from our eyes, right? Where that sun is. So, that's everybody. Everybody has a different chart. Everybody's got a different placement and a different combination. So, I wish I could be more clear than that, but that's what I want to say about that. So Saturn right now is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is its home sign. So Saturn is come into Capricorn, and it will stay at home even as it moves into Aquarius. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, and Aquarius in modern times has been given to Uranus. However, it's really important to understand that Saturn, as the ruler of these two signs, right, in so many ways they go together, right? So Capricorn and the water bearer, right? These are in some ways the highest of the signs, right? The cardinal earth and the fixed air, and these two right next to each other really represent one of the strongest pairings in the whole zodiac. Right? And Saturn at home in these signs, right, is in many ways giving us all the lessons that we need right now. I know I'm not alone in knowing that so many people are going through the life lessons and the challenges, and I think that's part of living life. And as I think as we as human beings continue to grow in consciousness, we will continue to understand more and more that we are being taught and we are being communicated with constantly. Everything in nature, everything around you is communicating with you, and a big part of what we're learning is to see and to hear properly again. And a big part of that is trusting this intuitive mind, and is allowing the voice of the teacher to really come through. Right? You know, when I was a kid, I had a teacher, and you probably had a teacher similar, that wouldn't yell when they wanted the class to get quiet. They would just stop talking. They would become very quiet, and they would sit there and just wait, and then one or two kids would get wise and they would see, okay, we need to be quiet. And little by little, it might take 5 minutes, but everybody would eventually be quiet. And that's kind of how Saturn is. Saturn's going to wait for you to be quiet, and it will give you the lesson. And sometimes Saturn is going to start giving that lesson, and if you start talking, it's going to continue to give you the lesson, and you're just not going to hear it. You're not going to, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to get the lesson. So it's so important. It's that still small voice that we listen to. This is meditation. That's what yoga is all about. This is the original unified circle. Yoga means union, and it means a kind of oneness, right? And this is the most ancient expression of that, is seeing these movements, right? And that they tie in. It's like a great big clock. All the gears are turning, all the gears are necessary. And if you haven't made the connection, when you look at a clock, right, there are 12 numbers on that clock, just like there are 12 signs. Each division on a circular clock, an analog clock, is 30 degrees. The 7 days of the week are the 7 original planets. Sunday, of course, for the sun. Monday, Moon Day. Tuesdays for Mars. Wednesdays for Mercury. Thursday is Jupiter. Friday is Venus. And Saturday is Saturn's day. All right, I'm sure this video is plenty long. I had to get myself a timer. All right, my friends, if you've made it this far, thanks so much for listening. I wish you all the best. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And I will see you next time. Go be the kindness.